What's up? What's up, hey, everyone?
Hello. Hey, Jay.
You guys miss me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Reese! I miss you too, Reese. No, I really did miss all of you guys. I hope you miss me. It's okay if you didn't. Anyways, guys, it's good to be back. I'm super happy to be here. I feel like being sick and being gone for, I think it was over 3 weeks?
3 weeks, at least 3 Sundays.
Right. It was 3 Sundays, a little longer than 3 weeks. But yeah, I missed you guys. I was sick. I don't know if I had the Rona, but I might have had the Rona. Can you guys see the screen if the guitars are here?
Kind of.
Kind of. Let me just move.
Next is plugged in. Oh, it's kind of blocking.
How's that? Let me move this. Like that. Is that better?
Stand by the counter.
It's plugged in, that's why. How's that? This is usually up, and I think I forgot to do it, and I don't want to touch that. Oh, it broke. I'm the one who hung that thing up there a long time ago, so it's probably wrong. Anyways, guys, it's super good to be back. We're talking. Oh, shoot, guys. Where is my clicker? Thank you. Also, I need. Where's my drink? I had a drink right over there. Where'd it go? No, I'm having a little sugar drink. It's okay, I have water. It's perfect for me. I don't have to drink it. Anyways, guys, now I'm starting my sermon. I just want to say I missed you guys, and I also wanted to recap a little bit what we were talking about, and that is living water. Who's watched the 2 videos the last 2 weeks? Watched it. What about when my friend spoke 2 weeks ago? Who remembers that? That was my good friend, mentor. His name's Ryan. I lived with him for about a year. It was actually for our first move out here. He's been an awesome guy. We still connect a lot. I was super thankful he did that for me. But we're talking about living water, and living water is pretty dang cool because it's actually a huge concept of the Bible. It's throughout the Bible, actually. I mean, you read it in the Psalms, you read it in the prophets, you read it in Jeremiah, you read it in Ezekiel as it ends, wraps up the book, and it's also in the New Testament, as we studied last week in John 4 about Jesus and the living water, and about the Samaritan woman at the well. If you don't remember, it's on YouTube. Go back and watch that sermon. Anyways, I just want to do a little recap on what living water is and moving water is compared to still water. I grew up next to this. I also grew up next to this. Very similar views, very similar things, but there's actually a lot different about it. You see, the beauty about this is it may look great, but still water comes with some issues. When water is still, it doesn't have anywhere to go, it builds algae, it builds dirt, it builds sometimes even diseases, and everything gets rushed to the side, and it doesn't have a place to wash through and stay clean. Unlike moving water. When water is moving, it cleans consistently. There is no algae. If you guys ever go to a clean river, you'll touch the rock and you can stick to a rock underwater. Because the water is so powerful, it is cleaning. It's like its own filter. And I grew up next to both of these, and I can tell you one thing for sure, that moving water is so much better than what we have here, which is still water. And there's a few reasons why, because first off, I don't like water when I can't see the bottom. Who's like that? Like, you can't see anything, like there's gotta be something living in there. It's gonna eat me, and I'm gonna die. But rivers are amazing because you can see like 20 feet down. I mean, you could see so far down sometimes that you're like, I swear it's only 5 feet deep. And you can't even touch the bottom because it's crystal clear. Me and my friends who used to cliff jump, if you guys remember some of my stories, doing crazy tricks and all that, I used to cliff jump all the time. And I only cliff jumped in rivers because I could see the bottom. It was safe for me to jump. I told the story last week, but I'll tell you again. In Zion National Park, they have these awesome hikes through the canyon. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them, like geological studies and all that. But Zion has these giant canbergs, like this 300, 2,000 feet up, which is rock, and a beautiful river that runs through. And there's lots of gorgeous photos of it. If you look up Zion National Park, I'm sure it'll pop up. But that is a beautiful hike. It's a beautiful trail. You get to hike through the river. And here's the thing, every year flash floods come. And what the flash floods do, they're very dangerous. And if you hike at your own risk on a flash flood day, many people have lost their lives because the water is so powerful. But what it does is it actually cleans out the canopy. All the trees, all the algae, all the mucus, and all that stuff that's stuck to rocks and everything, it cleans it out like a new slate because the water is so powerful, it's moving through. But the past few years, it hasn't been happening. There hasn't really been any flash floods. And you know what's happened? Algae is built up to the point where there's actually diseases spreading. Where dogs have died, humans have gotten sick. They've had to close the park a few times because they're like, we can't let anyone hike here because you're going to get sick and die. Because the water became still, and it sat there, and it built, it didn't have any real movement. Living water, I like to compare to moving water. And if you actually study scriptures in the Bible, it talks about these words like streams and rivers, or the living water flowing out through you. It's this concept of moving water, this concept that water is moving through you. And I think it's so beautiful to view it this way. Because have you ever thought about like if a tree was planted by the river? Let's look at this tree right here. You guys can see it. You guys see how green these trees are? They're so green. And let's look at this little tree right here. This tree is blessed because it's right next to the stream. So whenever it's thirsty, it can drink water. And that's the beautiful thing, because there's actually a verse that kind of talks about this. And I'm going to read it with you here. This is in Jeremiah 17. It says this, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when the heat comes, and its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought, and it never fails to bear fruit." I love that picture for a couple of reasons. Because it doesn't need to worry when it's scorching hot out. It doesn't need to worry when it hasn't rained in months, even years. Because if it hasn't rained, it's still next to the living water. Who's heard a Christian talk about? Christians have joy through the hard times. You're supposed to be kind when people are mean to you. And you're supposed to do this and be the opposite. You're not supposed to express those emotions you have. How is it that a person could be so hurt by someone and forgive and be kind and forgiving to that person? How is it that a person in trials and hard moments can have joy in it? Well, I would consider those hard times in our lives like droughts. I would consider those hard times in our lives like when it doesn't rain and we're not getting fed. Nothing really good is happening. No life is coming from it. And the sun is out and it's scorching us. But if we plant ourselves next to the stream of life, it's God. It's a relationship with God. It's Jesus. If we plant ourselves in that, if we put ourselves in that, I think through those hard times, we can actually have real joy. I think through those hard times, we can actually be happy and be okay and trust that God is in control. Because what does it say? Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, who has a confidence in Him. I don't know if you guys know what the biblical meaning of hope is, but hope isn't like, man, I hope it snows somewhere. I know it's Florida, but I hope it snows. Because if it snows, I won't go to school. I hope it snows. That hope is like a false hope. That hope is like, I don't know what's going to happen. I hope Jesus is real. I hope He's coming back. I hope God's going to get me through this situation. I hope I'm going to be okay. No. That's not the biblical hope. The biblical hope is the assurance of what is going to come. The assurance of things hoped for is what that sentence means is that it's going to pass. I have such a high hope that I'm just waiting for it to come. I don't know if God is going to help me out in this situation tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to get through that hard time next week, but I know I'm going to get through it. I don't know when God's going to come back and wipe away the pain and the sadness from the world, but I know that when I die, I know where I'm going. Because I have that hope. It isn't like, I'll go to heaven. You know, hope I get that A in that class. No, I know it's going to happen. I'm just waiting for it to happen. And so this man right here, this is Jeremiah saying, blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, who has this confidence, this hope in Him. Because they're going to be like that tree that's planted next to the stream. Guys, I hope that you can hold on to that. And I hope that in your life right now, you're probably maybe going through something. Maybe you're just sad because you're having a hard time connecting with friends with this whole COVID thing, and you feel like everyone's moving on to this. Maybe you just got dumped or something, or maybe the person you like doesn't like you. Maybe your friend did something mean to you and stabbed you in the back or gossiped about you. Maybe someone made fun of you on social media. Maybe your parents are fighting. Maybe you miss your parents because you haven't seen them in a while, or a situation like that. Whatever it is, whatever you're going through, you can have that hope. You can have that confidence in God. That if you're next to the stream, and I'll tell you what the stream is in a minute, that you can go through those seasons, you can go through those hard times, and be okay. You can make it. You can still have joy. I'll tell you a little bit about my life. See, I had a lot of hard things happen to me growing up. And some people probably had worse lives, and some people maybe had maybe a little easier road. But I came from a very broken family. Lots of different things happened throughout my family. And I was abused a lot by my older brothers and my stepbrothers. His name was Ford. And to the point where I go to school, and every time I came home, I was afraid to come home. My stepmom would call the cops on me. She'd frame me for these. She'd break something and call the cops, and I'd be arrested, and I wouldn't be able to go lead a worship for my youth group that night. If I hung out with a Bible study, I would be, my parents would call the cops and say I was high on weed and all this. I mean, it was just not good. I was always feeling attacked. I felt like there was no hope. You know what I said? I can't wait till I'm 18. Or I can't wait till I can do my own thing. I can get out of that situation. I was so focused on the rain. And I wish they were in these kind of jobs. I was so focused on the scorching sun. I was so focused on the bad moments in my life. The hard things. I just couldn't wait to get to the other side where the grass is green. I couldn't wait. But you know what I missed? Looking back, I missed some of those friendships I had at school when I played basketball. I missed some of those awesome adventures I would do when I went to the river and cliff joints. I missed spending time with my brothers when I was still with my family, and I would all across the United States doing different things. I have no family out here for it. It's been a hard few years. It's been good years, and God showed up. It's been a hard few years for me. I missed a lot of things, and I realized instead of focusing on the drought in my life, instead of focusing on those hard things, there are good things that I missed. There was a time in my life, senior year, a little too late, hope you guys don't wait that long, that I realized the truth of this verse, that I could trust God, that if I forgave, I wasn't bitter about my brothers or my parents or my family situation, that if I forgave, I could trust God. I could put my trust in Him, I could have confidence in Him, and therefore I could go through these hard times and be okay. And I was. I'm the only one today that still has a pretty good relationship with my parents. Why? Because I've learned that my parents had a rough life too. And I could forgive them, I could move on. I would go to restaurants and my chef would cuss me out, be super mean to me, threaten to fire me. But you know what you couldn't do? You couldn't take away my joy. You couldn't take away my happiness and my peace. To the point where one day, it's 2 in the morning because the fifth dishwasher cooked for the 5th time, and he kicks me outside and he says, "Jay, why are you so happy?" I finally got to share what that stream was, what kept me happy, what kept me going. I can assure you guys, you're going to have good moments. You're going to have good times in life, but you're probably going to have bad times that you might be in right now. But to put your trust in the Lord, to know that He is the one who directs our steps, that no matter where we go, He is with us, that He loves us, that He's relentlessly pursuing you, that is where we can be like that tree, where our leaves can remain green. We can still produce fruit and good things in our lives, but bad things are happening to us. And we are never alone. I'm going to end on this other verse. It says here, "As the deer pants for water, so I long for you, O God. I thirst for God, the living God. Where can I find Him to come and stand before Him?" This was King David, and he was desperate for God. It's a beautiful psalm, it's in Psalms 42. But King David had a rough life. He had some good things too. He conquered, and he's a great person. He's a great historical figure. He's a great historical, biblical figure. He made some big mistakes, and he also had a pretty rough life too. But he thirsted for God. And God said, there is no one that has a heart like David. God helped him through so many situations. He was there for him when he was in a cave. He thought his life was going to be taken. King David went through some crap. And he was okay. He trusted the Lord. And he had a thirst for God. The series that I taught before this was called Appetite. Who remembers that? Appetite? I kind of thought this would be a good time for me to bring that back a little bit and say, it's time that we have an appetite for the living water. It's time that we thirst for God. You guys are going to go home. You probably wake up and you got to put on my Snapchat stories. I got 150 more to do. I got to film that TikTok. My friend said that if I did it, she'd do it. I got to do this. And you're so distracted that you forget. Why am I so sad? Why is it that I'm not looking at something or watching something or doing something? I'm just so sad. I'm depressed. I feel like I have no real relationships. Maybe it's time that you take a moment. Put the phone down, you turn off the TV, you stop hanging out with friends, you stop doing something Monday through Sunday, and you spend some time with God. Spend some time planting your roots in the living water. Let's pray. God, I thank you for every single person in this room. I know that they're here for a reason. I know that you have a lot of plans for them, God. Lord, I know that you are in and with and around, and you surround them with your love. God, I'm just as guilty as they are when it comes to the fact that I don't pray as much as I should. I don't focus on you as much as I should. I don't look around and realize how you're so present in my daily life. But I know you are, God. And I know you pursue us in a way that's just mind-boggling. You love us so deeply, and yet you're so holy and you're so good. God, with every eyes closed and every head bowed right now, I just pray that if they could just take a moment and think about it. Let's just take a second and say, God, I'm sorry I don't talk to you. Maybe there's someone in this room right now that doesn't like themselves. Maybe there's someone in this room that feels like, I don't like who I am, so how can God love me? God, I pray that they hear these words, that how you view yourself is not the way God views you. How you see yourself is not the way God sees you. And it's time you open up that word. It's time you pray. It's time you look up to heaven and you say, God, I need you to tell me how you see me. And I know what he's going to say. He's going to say he's proud of you. He's going to say he has a plan for you. He's going to say that he loves you. He's with you. He's going to say that you're beautiful and that you're made wonderful. Lord, I just pray that truth into us tonight. God, you're so good. You're so amazing. I'm so thankful just to be here. I'm so thankful for everyone who's alive and has breath in their lungs. Lord, let's have a fun night. Let's play an awesome game. I pray these things in your name. Amen.